A couple of months ago, the idea of people filling museum halls, indulging in hands-on experiences, touch-activated technologies, and other physical forms of engagement would have been business as usual. Suddenly, everything is different. Recent studies suggest that venues tending to be more passive, like zoos and art museums, may see an increased interest in visiting once bans to be outside are lifted, while cultural venues associated with touch-based activities, like those found inside science museums and children's museums, may see less enthusiasm to visit. Now, this news could be devastating to museums that have built their missions and educational strategies on hands-on experiences. Decades of research shows that direct, real-world engagement is essential to learning. And the idea of abandoning all of that is not only unthinkable, it's probably unnecessary. Solutions are there, but they come with a different way of thinking. I'm not talking about ways of sanitizing after every use or offering limited timed visits. Those are good in triage mode. I want to talk about near-term and long-term solutions for museums that allow visitors to interact with their surroundings in safe and effective ways. The design of traditional exhibitions is essentially architectural. Static spaces that people move through and interact with in physical ways. And that's one of the issues, that physical interaction. Now, technologies like eye tracking, voice recognition, and gesture control can offer modes of activating space and accessing content that require no physical contact with screens, handles, or equipment. The application of these tools is bound to grow and transform physical exhibition spaces into dynamic, media-rich environments that respond to users far more than they generally do now. But museums are ultimately about real stuff. So, how should museums start thinking differently about designing interactive experiences that happen in the real world? What if the answer to designing post-pandemic museum experiences is actually in rethinking the physical form and logistics of the interactions themselves? Consider this. Most of the things people touch in built environments were designed to be touched. Railings, door handles, ATM screens, grocery checkouts, elevator buttons, gas pump handles, shopping cart handles, museum interactives. In nature, it's a different story. Commonly shared surfaces are rare. If you pick up a pine cone, touch the bark of a tree, run your hand through sand, or pick up a stick, it's very unlikely that the same pine cone, tree bark, sand, or stick had been handled by other people. In nature, we find multiple samples of things, so many things, that touching the same object as someone else is highly unusual. Now, there are built environments that begin to approach this kind of condition. Grocery stores and other retail spaces where multiple products are made available offer a model of physical interaction with greatly reduced shared services. Yes, someone else might have picked up that can of soup and put it back for a different brand, and certainly the person that stocked the shelf touched it. But this amount of shared surface contact doesn't come close to the touchscreen at the self-checkout. That said, retail spaces can still funnel people into close proximity, and this is the other challenge we need to consider. That distancing. Open outdoor spaces can alleviate this problem. Museums with access to exterior grounds could focus on programming those spaces with experiences that reduce shared surface contact and enable social distancing. We can imagine a number of games, activities, and challenges that easily pass these guidelines. Taking things outside the building can work as a kind of pressure valve by distributing visitors between interior and exterior attractions, and thus accommodating social distancing. But museums don't need to own land to take their missions to the outside world. Let's look at something called Ubiquitous Museology, the practice of integrating museum experiences into seemingly ordinary environments. This approach of redefining the footprint of the museum experience offers ways to expand the reach of a museum mission, make connections to things, places, and phenomena that align with its educational criteria, and establish a reciprocal flow of visitors between these exterior sites and the brick-and-mortar building. Ubiquitous Museology defines the world around us as a collection in situ, already occupying spaces for informal learning. Educators, developers, and designers find opportunities for engagement in circumstances that already exist. While the goals, messages, and desired outcomes may stay the same, how museums encourage their audiences to connect and support them is currently under anxious re-examination. Taking time to pull back and look at the big picture is important. Pull back further to see that everything museums hold originated in the world at large. Part of the answer to the future survival of museums lies as much in where these experiences happen than in how they happen.